uh, let's see. So I'll share my screen. Is it good? Can you see it?
Great. Wonderful. Welcome. I just started the recording, so I just want to introduce you again. Welcome, Emilio Tovilla from REGIS. Thank you for joining us today. And we are really excited for this presentation. I absolutely love this campus. I've only been there to watch my stepson play basketball. And I helped with the 9 Health Fair event there. You guys host 9 Health Fairs there as well, which I think is a really great community offering. So again, like I said, students, if you have questions, you can type it in the chat and it'll either come to me or it'll go to Emilio and we can address those after. And take it away, Emilio, it's all yours.
Okay, perfect, yeah. Yeah, so my name's Emilio Tovilla. I'm an admissions counselor at Regis University. Thanks for hopping on. It's always fun to visit with different high schools around the area. So my 2 territories are Adams County here in Colorado, as well as the state of Arizona. So if you reside in any of these places, I will be your main point of contact for the university. And I'll be the person that you go to for any questions, or I will help you out with your application process and everything. So I actually am a 2020 Regis graduate. So I just finished being a student myself at Regis. So I can definitely advocate on not just what we have to offer as a university, but I can also tell you about student life, what it's like to be a student at Regis, and just more of a student perspective as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. And Regis is really known as the Jesuit Catholic Liberal Arts and Science University. And I know that that's a mouthful, but what that essentially, there's multiple meanings to that. So the main part of Regis's identity is the Jesuit part. Within the Catholic Church, there are multiple orders. So you have like the Benedictines, the Franciscans, the Jesuits, and they all have different missions and purposes that they strive for. So the Jesuits are really known for their humanitarian work as well as their education. So that's where kind of like that liberal arts and science meet. So even though the Jesuits are of religious affiliation and they do have that communication with the Catholic Church and they go by the Catholic teachings, they also recognize the importance of education. And with that comes like the acceptance of science and integration of science into religion. So one of the big things about Regis is we coexist with religion and science, and we don't necessarily think that science is a bad thing. We actually encourage our students to be well-rounded students, to be learning about different areas of study. And that comes into play later on in what I'm going to talk about in the kind of courses you can expect at Regis. But that's kind of a little bit about the identity. In terms of like Jesuit values, we have a total of 6. I'll kind of explain 2 of them a little bit, just so you can kind of understand what I mean by values. So one of them is known as cura personalis. Cura personalis in Latin means care for the whole body. So when we talk about cura personalis, we talk about what can we do to make sure that students are doing things that are going to take care of themselves as a whole. So this doesn't just mean health or like mental well-being. This just means how can we make this person a well-rounded individual that contributes to society, that is a good person, and how can they learn to do that for other people as well. So that's kind of a take on cura personalis. Another Jesuit value we have is magis. Magis in Latin means more. This doesn't mean what people think it means. Some people would think like more money or like more education or whatever. This means just how can you be more well-rounded? How can you do more for yourself to be in a good position? How can you do more for others to be in a good position? So as you've kind of noticed, I've been mentioning for others, and that's another thing that we live by, we strive for. And we have a motto on campus that is men and women in service of others. So that's where the humanitarian area of the Jesuit values in Regis comes in. So these are kind of some statistics that we have pulled from our current freshman class. And one question I'll get from students is, since Regis is a Catholic private school, do I have to come from like a Catholic background, or do I have to come from like a Catholic high school? And that's definitely not the case. We really enjoy having a diverse campus, making sure that we have people from different demographics. And as you can see, 60% of our student population actually comes from a public school. 45% of our students are coming from outside Colorado, and 25% of our students, so that's a quarter, are identifying as first generation students. So we're definitely trying to expand those numbers and making sure that our campus has a good variety of students on it. Something that we really pride ourselves on at Regis is that we are a teaching university. So what this means is when we are in the process of hiring our faculty, like the professors at Regis, we make sure that they understand that their main job and main focus is to be in the classroom with the students and teaching and being there, hosting office hours, making sure they're accommodating for students, meeting with them to see if they comprehend all the material. So their main focus is to teach. It's to be with the students and making sure that the students are successful. If you've ever done like a research paper, you may have cited some sources, and maybe like you cited a source and in the citation it said this study was performed at the University of Pennsylvania. So those larger institutions are known as research universities. Research universities do the opposite of Regis. They hire professors who are well respected in their fields, so that they can do research at the university and essentially bring in money. So bring research grants and bring any kind of like fame and making the university more renowned because they have these very well respected people in their fields teaching at the universities. But because these professors are so focused on bettering their prospective fields, so like maybe a neuroscientist is studying the causes of multiple sclerosis at University of Pennsylvania, they're like doing such an important job within the neuroscience field that they are not able to dedicate as much time to teaching their classes at the University of Pennsylvania. So a lot of times these classes will be taught by a teacher's assistant or a graduate assistant. That's not the case at Regis. Just like I said, our professors are going to be in the classroom with you. We don't have any graduate assistants or teacher's assistant on staff, and that will never be the case. Now, this doesn't mean that we don't do research at Regis. We do a lot of research, and our professors will do research on the side within their field. And a lot of times they'll even invite you as a student to be like a lab assistant or help them in their research. So this does not mean we don't do research. It just means that the focus is teaching over research. So within Regis, we do have a wide area of opportunities for study. Even though we are that liberal arts institution that's a little bit smaller, we have roughly like 2,200 students at the university. We have a very big pool of opportunities for what you want to study. We have fine arts, humanities, social sciences. So you could look at art, history, philosophy, sociology, criminal justice. But you could also go into like the computer science area, or you could go into the healthcare field. So you're looking at nursing, physical therapy, pharmacy, or you could go into the STEM areas. So you have like neuroscience, psychology, chemistry. You go to the business area or into education. So there's a lot to choose from. And I like to believe that we have something for everyone. I know that that's maybe not the case all the time, but I mean, there's a lot to offer, and with pathways to grad school or whatever it is that you're looking into. So apart from the academic side, even though when you're going off to college, your main priority is to get that 4-year degree and to start a career that you're passionate about. But another thing to look at is what else does the university offer? Because college is not just about your academics. It's not just about going to class and doing your homework, because when you're applying to jobs and everything, they are looking to see how well-rounded of a person you are. Or they're like, well, what else did you do? You have a 4.0 from college, but were you involved in internships, or did you do any clubs? Like, how did you expand your communication skills? How did you become a better leader? And that's the way Regis tries to offer their students, is through clubs and organizations or athletics, internships, you name it. We have those opportunities on campus. Student club and organizations, we have the typical ones like student government. But I'd say our most popular organization is definitely our OAP program. So OAP stands for Outdoor Adventure Program, and it's this club where students get together frequently. During the nicer times of the year, they'll go like every weekend, but they'll do trips up into the mountains and they'll take full advantage of the natural world that Colorado has to offer. So we're looking at trips to go canoeing, whitewater rafting, zip lining, hiking. So all those great fun things to do. In the winter, they'll do like skiing or they'll do like snowshoeing. So they're going to be out in the outdoors, and that's like one of the best things about the OAP program. Um, Another thing I like to talk about is athletics. So at Regis, we have different opportunities to do athletics. So we have the varsity level, club level, and intramural. Intramural is just essentially you make a team with your friends and you compete against other teams on campus. Club is a little bit more competitive. You'll be representing Regis as a club sport. You'll have a few practices throughout the week, and you get to travel for the in order to compete. Varsity is NCAA, so the National Collegiate Athletic Association. This is the type of opportunity where you can get a scholarship to compete for Regis. However, it's like you do see a lot of training hours, and it is just really competitive. So I always say if you want to do sports in college, but maybe you're not up for that competitive level, I try club or intramural. So if you do have questions about being a student athlete at Regis, I'm more than happy to help you out with that. I actually came to Regis as a recruited athlete, so I definitely know a little bit about what that entails. So if you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer that. Another thing I like to talk about, study abroad. So if y'all have ever thought about studying abroad, I highly recommend staying in that mode of considering it. Regis really advocates for their students to consider going abroad because they believe that it's a great way to learn in a setting that's not the typical setting you're used to. You know, you get to go to another country and you're exposed to different cultures, different customs, languages, people, food, clothing. So it's the opportunity for you to really expand your perspectives and to be surrounded by professors and students and families that maybe you're not so used to being around. Whenever I was a junior at Regis, I actually studied abroad in Spain. It was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. You know, I got to take classes with Spanish professors. I got to make Spanish friends, and I lived with a Spanish family, so I got to practice my Spanish. I got to really be integrated into that Spanish culture. You know, my host mom would always make traditional Spanish food. She would kind of recommend the typical Spanish things to do in Sevilla, which is the city I studied abroad in. And she always kind of just told me, oh, don't go to these areas. These are too touristy. You go to this area. It's more authentic. It's more local. So I got to have more of that like Spanish experience. And I definitely recommend. We do have our Office of Global Education if you have more questions about that. Or I can also try to help you out with that. Finally, I like to talk about internship opportunities and partnerships. So although Regis is a smaller liberal arts institution, the opportunities for internships are actually huge. You know, we do partnerships with Fortune 500 companies. We have seen students intern for the Colorado Rockies, for the Colorado Avalanche, for the Rapids. You know, they've done internships with them. We've seen students go to Washington, D.C. for an entire semester, and they'll fulfill their classroom work in Washington, D.C., but they will intern on Capitol Hill, or they will intern at like some big law firm, or maybe at like a history museum, you know, because they're more interested in the history side rather than the law and politics side. So there are multiple opportunities to do at Regis, and not everything has to be that big. You can also find a smaller one here locally in Denver. Whatever suits you and whatever you're looking for in your career opportunities, the Office of Internships is more than happy to set you up with what's right for you. So now we get to the admissions process. Our admissions process looks a little bit different this year because of COVID-19. So usually we would require 4 things, maybe your GPA, ACT, SAT score, your personal statement, and your letters of recommendation. This year we are going test optional, so we are not requiring students to submit their test scores. If you do have those test scores, you want to submit them, great, we will look at them. However, if you do not submit them, you're not penalized in any way. It does not affect your chances of getting in, and it does not affect your chances of getting scholarship money. So test scores are kind of just, if you want to send them in, you can, but they will not hurt. and they will not necessarily improve your chances either. We're going to mostly focus on your GPA, your high school transcript, your personal statement, and your letters of recommendation. Those are going to be the 3 factors in us reviewing your application. If you are currently in any AP courses or IB courses, or you're dual credit, maybe you're enrolled at like Front Range or like Red Rocks, you can always send those to me. You can send me the courses you're taking, or you can send me maybe like the AP or IB courses you took and maybe like the score you obtained. I can send that over to our evaluation team, and they can send me a document that will tell me how those courses can transfer to Regis. Finally, I kind of get the question of when is our deadline. We don't necessarily have a deadline at Regis. We do rolling admissions. So what that means is we accept applications throughout the entire school year. However, I do recommend that students submit their application around Thanksgiving, at the latest Christmas break. And the reason for that is because the sooner you get your application in, the sooner we get to review it, the sooner you get your decision letter. And then there are more opportunities for scholarships in the spring, known as our scholarship weekend. This scholarship weekend, I'll kind of talk about it here in a bit. But in order to compete for it, you do have to be an admitted student. So that's another reason I tell students to submit their application sooner than later, so that they can compete in these type of competitions. The only actual deadline we do have would be if you're looking into our nursing program. So our nursing program is actually the best nursing school in the state of Colorado. So we do have a very competitive applicant pool. And that's the reason we do tell students, we do have the deadline of December 1st. If you are looking at nursing, you should have your application in by December 1st. But if you're looking at anything else at Regis, you don't really have a deadline per se. And then finally, one thing that's kind of not noted on here, but I do like to tell students, is FAFSA. FAFSA is your financial aid through the federal government. So it opens on October 1st every year. So it's already been a little bit over a month. I always tell students, just submit that as soon as you can. This kind of helps us determine need-based scholarship money, so any grants. So this is essentially money you don't have to pay back, and it helps you pay for school. This obviously depends on your parents' financial situation. But again, I always tell students, submit the FAFSA, because you just never know what you can get out of it. So. All right. Then we have affordability and value. So when you apply to Regis, you will automatically be considered for merit-based scholarships. So these merit-based scholarships range from $5,000 to $20,000, and it's solely based off your high school transcript and your GPA. So the higher GPA you have, the more scholarship money you'll get. So these are renewable for 4 years. So if you are to win, for example, the $20,000 scholarship, it's a total of $80,000, and it's divided into $20,000 per year for the 4 years that you're at Regis. Another thing that can come out of submitting the FAFSA is student employment. So student employment is essentially, you're giving a grant of about $4,000 for the academic school year, and you work on campus. You kind of decide what you want to do. There's essentially a job in every department. You could work in the library, you could work in the CAF, you could work for a specific like department, like you could work in the Department of Psychology, in the business school. So like, let's say you're studying chemistry, you could work for the chemistry department if you desire. So there's essentially a lot of opportunities. Whenever I was a student at Regis, my work study was actually a student ambassador. Student ambassadors are the ones who take students and their families on tour of the university. So that's definitely, in my opinion, one of the most fun job opportunities, because you get paid to just interact with families and students. You get to talk about Regis. You get to do all these fun things. Right now, we actually just started, we have social media accounts for Regis. So I do recommend you follow those. We have an Instagram, and this year we just started a TikTok. So if you go follow our TikTok, you'll get to see this great content of our student ambassadors. So our student ambassadors are literally getting paid to make TikToks. So student work does not have to be boring per se. You know, you can find good opportunities on campus. And then finally, I do like to talk about the 4-year guarantee that we have at Regis. So Regis we'll give you this promise that as long as you're doing your part, you're passing all your classes, you're meeting with your advisor, you're taking a good amount of courses every semester. So you're taking like 15 or more a semester. And if you've done everything right, and for some reason, maybe you're behind a few credits after your 4 years, Regis will cover that additional fee of the courses you need to graduate. As much as we want you to be on campus, as much as we love everyone, every single one of our students, we do hope that you leave us in 4 years because we want you to go on to grad school. We want you to go on to the workforce. We want you to be a person that's really impacting society in a positive way. So if you do fall into that situation, we will pay for the additional coursework you are needing in order to graduate. So in terms of location, if you're not familiar where Regis is, we're right off I-70 over by Federal. So we're actually really close to downtown, and I think our location is pretty prime. So if you're looking at going downtown, it's a 10-minute drive or so. You're not far from Mile High, from Coors Field. Red Rock is only a 20-minute drive from us. DIA is only 30 minutes, and close mountain towns like Idaho Springs are only 38 minutes away. And then if you're looking at going skiing, so Breckenridge, Vail, that's only an hour and a half away. So I'd say Regis really has a great location. We do have areas very close to campus that are also very popular with students. We have Tennyson Street, lots of shops, lots of restaurants, places students like to go hang out. So yeah, there's a lot to do around campus. All right, so that kind of brings us to the end of the presentation. This is my contact information. It's my email and my work cell phone. So if you do have any questions that you think of later on or any concerns, you can always reach out. I'm more than happy to help you with anything, and I will help you try to find an answer to whatever it is that you have. But at this time, I do like to open up this session to any questions that you may have. Feel free to ask anything about the presentation or about maybe something I did not address in the presentation. So you can send it in the chat, you can unmute yourself, whatever you feel comfortable. I'm just opening it up to y'all, and go ahead and ask questions.
I have a question here, Emilio. Thank you. That was very informative, really brief and great. I do have a question here. Somebody is asking if there are deadlines to join sports.
So I guess my question for that is, are you looking at NCAA varsity sports or like the other type, like club, intramural?
Varsity.
Yeah, so varsity sports, it's like, it's not exactly joining a sport. So when you're looking at playing at the NCAA level, you are going to want to contact the coach. So if you're looking at any specific sport, you can always go to our athletic website. So you could easily just type in Regis Athletics on Google. It'll take you to the website. Go to the sport you're looking at doing at Regis, and it'll have the coach's contact information, and just reach out to them saying you're interested in possibly participating. They'll kind of take you through the process of recruitment. So they'll talk to you about stats, maybe like the standards that the coaches have for any prospective recruits, national letter of intent, scholarship money, all that. So that'll kind of be specific to each coach, because some require tryouts, some do not, some allow walk-ons. So that's something you're gonna want to talk specifically with one of the coaches at Regis.
Awesome, thank you. As far as any scholarships or summer support, are those all on your page for specific areas and career pathways?
Sorry, my connection was bad, so you kind of cut out a little bit.
Sorry, it might be mine too. But as far as scholarships for your school, can you cover that? Do you have any specific ones that they can apply for?
Yeah. So in terms of scholarships, we have a scholarship weekend. Scholarship weekend occurs in the spring every year, and let's say you know you want to study business. You can sign up for the scholarship weekend and compete for like a business scholarship. Um, the format of the business scholarship traditionally has been a presentation. So they'll give you a prompt, you have to present on something, and the scholarship committee for the business school will observe you as well as the other competitors. Um, so they'll choose a few winners. They'll choose like a full tuition winner, so that will pay for everything. It'll be a full ride to Regis. Or they'll also choose partial winners. So if you're a partial winner, let's say you win a $10,000 scholarship, you can stack that onto your merit base that you get when you're admitted to Regis. So let's say you win the $20,000 scholarship to Regis, and then you compete for the business scholarship and you win the $10,000 scholarship. It stacks on, and then you have 30,000 going towards paying for school. So the one thing is, if you do win one of these scholarships through Scholarship Weekend, you are required to either major or minor in that area of study. So if you compete for that business scholarship, you do have to be a business major or have some kind of minor that's related to the business field. So
Awesome. Any other questions, you guys? I know that it's a lot of information to chew on, but if right now, what kind of tours are you doing? Are they all virtual?
yeah, really quick, I have a question in the chat, and it's asking for the acceptance rate. So our acceptance rate is around 60% right now. And our kind of like median GPA is about a 3.65. So I kind of just wanted to throw those numbers out there just so for some perspective. Um, but in terms of, um, sorry, what was the question again?
Well, it looks like, I mean, I don't know if you could offer any more experience on your end. Maybe what did you go through? Did you go to school here? And how did, why did you, or what, why was Regis your landing school?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was looking at schools, I was looking for a multitude of things. So I wanted to go to a school where I could get an athletic scholarship. I wanted to go to a school where I could study abroad. And I wanted to go to a school where I felt comfortable and where I felt like I would just be very well integrated into the student body. So I was doing a lot of different school visits throughout my senior year. I had different scholarship offers to run at different universities. Um, so I'm going to be completely honest, Regis was not exactly at the top of my radar. The coach just said, hey, why don't you come visit? We'd love for you to meet the team. We can talk to you more about like scholarship opportunities. And I was like, yeah, I mean, why not, So I kept my options open. I was like, I'll give this a shot. I came to campus, and that campus visit was everything to me. The tour guide was phenomenal. She just really made me feel like I was already a student at Regis when she would talk to me. Um, I got to meet the team. The team was phenomenal. The coach just made me feel really comfortable. Like, he really showed me how much people care for you at Regis. He told me, like, even though you will be a student athlete, I care about your grades more than your athletic performance. So even if you start not doing great in your schoolwork, then I'm gonna have to sit you out. So I knew that I would be held to a good expectation for my academics, and that my coach cared more about me at succeeding in life than he did about my athletic abilities. So that was one of the things. So Regis, if you can, I do invite you to visit. We are doing virtual and in-person visits. We are kind of restricting the numbers due to COVID, but you can do in-person visits. The reason why I do ask students to come visit in person is because it gives you that idea that I got whenever I visited. Everyone's friendly. Everyone's going to really show interest in you. And I'm not saying this because I'm an admissions counselor and I'm trying to sell you the university. I'm saying this because this is my genuine experience. And this is one of the reasons I decided to come to Regis. So if you can come visit, it gives you the full experience of what you can expect if you come to Regis.
Awesome. Thank you for that personal perspective. Anything else, you guys? It's a tough crowd today. Usually we
Yeah.
can get them to ask them more questions, but I also put your information. Oh, we had another question pop up. Love it. Can you tell us about the dorms? I know COVID's different right now. Maybe now COVID versus like actual dorm life.
hmm Yeah. So in terms of dorms, our dorms are actually kind of shifting right now. Previously, it was like we had two freshman dorms, and it was O'Connell Hall and DeSmet Hall. But we just had a renovation project finished for DeSmet. We had an entire wing added to DeSmet, and it added like 50 new rooms to the DeSmet Hall. So we're converting DeSmet Hall into one giant freshman dorm. O'Connell will now be kind of like a sophomore dorm. Um, so the way DeSmet is structured is you just have your roommate like any other college dorm, and you have like a communal restroom, so you do share it with your side of the floor. Obviously, your entire floor on your side is going to be the same gender, so it's going to be like a guy's side and a girl's side. You do share a bathroom, but I believe there's some pictures online. They're brand new, so like you would be, if you're a senior this year, you'd be only the second class to live in them. Um, and The way that it's structured is actually really well. Like the communal restrooms, like you have your own individual shower, and you have a changing room that connects to the shower, so it's like you have your own private area. It's not like what you expect of a communal restroom. And there's other facilities within that freshman dorm. You have these lounge areas to hang out with your friends. We have a bike rack room, so if you want to bring your bike on campus, you can store it safely inside the dorm. And they're installing a kitchen soon, so you can cook your favorite foods if you desire. So yeah, those. Another thing that we really like to tell our prospective students is the laundry at Regis is actually free, so you do not have to bring in your quarters. You don't have to pay for that. You just essentially have to bring your own laundry detergent, but the actual washer dryer units are free. So once you get to your upper level years, you have other options. You have like the RVs. The RVs are these townhouse style homes on campus. So they're 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, has like a kitchen, living room area, and a laundry room. So those are really popular with students. We also have West Hall, which is like a suite style dorm. O'Connell's being turned into a giant suite style room dorm. And then for upper level division, so if you're a grad student or if you're like a senior, junior, we have these apartment complexes just a block south of campus that are brand new. They just opened 2 years ago. So those are like some of the housing options at Regis.
Awesome. Um, and right now for COVID, what does that look like?
Yeah, so we do have students on campus right now. And excuse me. So their students were kind of given the option. They were given the option if they wanted to um, have their own room, or if they wanted to have a roommate, just because of COVID. So in non-COVID years, you're also offered the opportunity to do a single room if you desire. But this year it was more, um, Regis was more like, if you really do want this, we'll make it happen for you. Just because we understand that people are trying to take precautions, are trying to be safe with all these things. Um, Students are being tested frequently for COVID. So they'll kind of be randomly selected throughout the school year, and they'll be tested. I think students have been tested multiple times by now. If you test positive, or if you've been exposed to someone that has tested positive, the university will quarantine you. Um, so we're taking real great precautions. But other than that, dorm life seems to be running pretty smoothly, pretty similar to pre-COVID times. The RAs are still trying to have fun activities that allow for social distancing. So,
Can you
so
explain what
even
an
though
RA
maybe it's
is?
not, yeah, yeah, of course. An RA is like a residential assistant. They're kind of like in, they're responsible for your side of the floor. So like there's going to be a guy RA for the guys, a female RA for the girls, and they're essentially just going to be kind of like the rule enforcers. but they're like they're not what you think. They're generally very easy people to talk to. They're also there for moral support. So if you have ever run into a situation like if you're homesick or whatever, you know, they are there as a resource to help you cope with that and refer you to the proper people to get help for. So they're kind of there just to help you out with anything you need and to kind of just make sure everything's running smoothly on your floor.
Awesome. Um, okay, well, it doesn't look like there's any more questions, and it's not a bad thing if we end early because they can always contact you. So if you guys have any other concerns or questions, reach out. We're gonna keep, we're gonna keep Emilio here on our radar now, on our Rolodex, because now that we have you, we're gonna be able to get you again. Hopefully next semester we'll be able to loop you back in and have you be a guest speaker. I'm really keen and an advocate of making sure we have our local schools represented, very much so. And then of course, if students are interested in any other schools, we can help it at this point because we're limited with our time and our Zoom sessions, that we prioritize our local partnership. So we thank you for coming. And again, students, if you have any more questions, you guys can send them my way. You can send Emilio's information is on there, or you can even just go to Regis and find it there as well. And well, we appreciate everybody coming. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for
Yeah.
your
Thank you.
presentation, Emilio.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.